วันนี้ผมขออนุญาตกระทำเบื้องต้นเป็นภาษาไทยแล้วก็วันนี้เราเชิญศาสตราจารย์เอนสโกลาจากประเทศเยอรมนีนะครับศาสตราจารย์จบปริญญาเอกนะครับมาจากสาขาฟิสิกส์เนาะหลังจากนั้นก็มาเป็นเรียกว่าทนายความสิทธิบัตรนะครับแล้วก็ปัจจุบันเป็นผู้บริหารที่สำนักงานที่ปรึกษากฎหมายชื่อว่าโรเบิร์ตโรเบิร์ตซึ่งมีอายุเกือบ100 ปีนะครับที่เมืองมิวนิกแล้วก็มีประสบการณ์มากมายในการจดสิทธิบัตรของสหภาพยุโรปแล้วก็ทั่วโลกนะครับแล้วก็วันนี้เนี่ยอาจารย์จะมาบรรยายในหัวข้อเรื่องของการตีเป็นตัวมูลค่านะครับของทรัพย์สินทางปัญญาเนาะนี่ก็มีหลายท่านนะครับมาจากออฟฟิศต่างๆนั่นเลยนะครับ On behalf of Thammasat University, today we have a lovely guest speaker from Germany, from St. Skola, and thank you very much for your visit in our university. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you. This is very for me, but not for you. I came yesterday from Germany, so sorry. My name is Heinz Koller, and I would like to talk today about valuation of intellectual property, because that is, according to the legal provisions in my country, a necessary condition for developing inventions, innovations made at public research institutions like universities and particularly universities in industry. Why that is so, I try to explain. You will see here something, and I should start with this probably, about employees' invention regulations in Germany. Why is that the basis? What has this to do with commercialization of, let's call them university inventions? The reason is that since 1942-43, we have in Germany, I would say, at that time Germany, which included Austria, that was part of Germany then, we have a very special law, namely the law concerning inventions made by employees. Why is that of importance for valuation? I will give you more details of that law. We need this later on, right away. It forces, it makes it compulsory for German employers, private industry, as well as universities in the meantime, to determine annually the value of inventions. Why? Because an employee inventor in Germany is entitled to get as a special remuneration for his making an invention and giving it to the employer, and that special remuneration is a reasonable part, a fair part of the commercial value of the invention. And this is by law. This is a binding law. So you cannot in Germany include the remuneration for inventions, neither in private industry nor in public service at universities, into a salary. That means if you have an employment contract which says that a certain, let's say, chemist working in research and development in a company, that he gets a certain salary maybe a very low or very high salary, doesn't matter. And you would say there that the employee has to give his inventions or her inventions to the employer for free, or even at a special, you would say at $1 US dollar, or 1,000 or 1 million, it is all null and void. So those employment contracts, even if signed by the employee, are not binding. They may be exercised between employer and employee until maybe usually the employee leaves the company, terminates the employment or retires. And within 6 months afterwards, the employee can go to court, first to arbitration court, a compulsory one in Germany, you will see this, or to court, and request a remuneration which would be calculated in accordance with the law I just have described. That means it is very, very risky if an employer does not agree with an inventor on a justified, fair remuneration, because then the employee, 20 years later, 30 years later, after retirement, will come to the employer and will collect with interest and interest on the interest the remuneration which she or he would have been entitled to get. All this is again referred, and I go back to that, a fair share of the commercial value, the value of the invention, which must be calculated in some manner. And this is where all German employers, at the end of the calendar year, calculate and keep this in a book, the value of the inventions they got from employees during the year before. And I will tell you later on how that is done, this calculation, because it is the basis for our valuation discussion today. Why is it done at the end of the year? Because it would not be Germany if it would not also be provided by law when the remuneration has to be paid, maybe within the first 3 months of each calendar year for the year before. The employer cannot wait longer. So end of the year means value of invention depending on the commercial use of the invention during the year before. And within 3 months, until 31st of March of the following year, the employer has to pay. Now, before going into this valuation calculation in more detail, a little bit about this law I talked about. Why was it in 1942-43 created? Actually, US companies particularly, also Japanese ones, who have German subsidiaries, where employees make inventions, are sometimes inclined, not so much the Japanese, but the US ones, to consider this law as a torturing instrument against employers. Because for United States companies, this is totally alien. They don't understand why I have a remuneration based on the value of an individual invention, and why can I not just say in an employment contract the inventor has to assign his invention at $1 US to the employer. But unfortunately, it is the case in Germany, and it is not a torturing instrument. It was 1942-43, and I'm telling this only to you because you have then, I think, an easier task to keep this a little bit in mind, this base law of innovation in German industry. It was in 42 created as a so-called, you find this all in a paper, which I think I made also available to your university here, otherwise I can send you a special manuscript publications on this, which I wrote somewhere years ago, ages ago, in Valuation, which is the quarterly issuing magazine of Licensing Executive Society International. I can send you this manuscript. It was created as a so-called Göring-Speer regulation. Some of you are all too young, might still know the names of Mr. Göring. He was the minister in the, Third Empire, as we call it, under our Austrian leader, when Mr. Hitler was the German emperor, not emperor, but leader between 1933 and 1945. Mr. Göring was the Minister for Aircraft Industry, and Mr. Speer was the Albert Speer, S-P-E-E-R, was the Minister for War Industry. And they, as many other people in the German government, in 1942, after a famous or infamous battle of Stalingrad somewhere in Soviet Union, Russia, saw that Germany would have big problems to win World War II. So they wanted to create an incentive program which pulled more inventions out of German industry which could help winning World War II. Fortunately, one may say, the latter did not be successful, this aim of winning World War II. But the law was there. And the law, now we jump to today, is still in a practically unchanged form, a little bit modernized after World War II, enforced in Germany, and is the reason, as I believe and many other scholars, lawyers, industry people in Germany believe, why out of Germany today, last year, you get more inventions made by employees than in all other countries of the European Union altogether. Out of Germany come per year about 80,000 inventions, and out of the rest of the European Union around 50,000 or something. This is not because German inventors would be so much more intelligent than inventors in other European countries, but it is an indirect, ongoing effect of this incentive program, which essentially means, I remind you, what I said earlier, to give to each individual employee an incentive to promise an extra amount of, not unsubstantial amount of money in case that this inventor makes an invention, or this employee makes an invention, and, very important, notifies it, brings it to the knowledge of the employer, and thereby makes it commercially useful, because an invention which exists only in the mind of an employee is pretty useless, whether the employee is in private industry or is in universities. Estimations, even publications of the German Patent and Trademark Office, GPTO, show, and you see here the importance of the law, that more than 98%, so that means 99 or whatever, of all inventions coming out of Germany, these 80,000 that talked about per year, are employee inventions. Individual inventors who are not employees of either private industry or universities, public research institutions, practically don't play a role. And this is not only in Germany so, this is also in countries like Japan, United States, wherever. Inventions usually are made as an outflow of employment arrangements, not by individual inventors sleepless at night at home taking a pencil and writing down a chemical formula. It practically does not happen. Yeah, so this is where we are. So this governs, this law, German industry and universities. Actually, until 2002, 6th of February, that law did not cover university inventions. Inventions made by professors, assistant professors, and lecturers at universities. Because there was a famous, forget the numbers again, you find this all if you like in papers which I can send to you, the Article 42 of German employee invention law provides for provided until 2002 for a full professor's privilege. That means inventions made by professors, lecturers, and assistant professors were free inventions, not so-called service inventions. I come to that in a minute. That means the professor had even not to notify the invention to the university. Rather, could conclude, and did this massively, with the company, the private enterprise, who wished to get the inventions that professor was going to make into his hands. A consultancy agreement with a simple content: professor gets money, industry gets the invention, and university sits in the corner and does not see the invention. That means all the inventions which were made under this old law until 2002 at universities were always filed for patents by the industry. So you will practically not find any patent held by a German university or co-held by a German university with application dates earlier than 2002. They were all filed in the name of Bayer, Siemens, Volkswagen, Daimler, you name it. Actually, it's very funny sometimes if you do some literature searching and you look into articles written particularly by US authors who were very proud after 1986 or 7 when the so-called Bayh-Dole Act came into force, where they write essentially, yeah, we are very good now because we can commercialize inventions. Inventors at universities must give these inventions, of course, to the university. The university commercializes, wonderful, we make money of it. Why are the Germans so stupid, more or less? Because they have absolutely no patents at universities. So, apparently, they have no university-industry collaboration, which is not very advantageous for technical progress. But unfortunately, they overlooked, these dear friends of mine, part of them, that we had the professor's privilege. That means there was a lot of academia-industry collaboration, but not between university and industry, rather between professors and industry. So industry went to the professors and said, look, you are doing interesting projects. We would like to conclude a collaboration agreement with you. We get your inventions, you get money, and we are good friends. University had nothing to do with this, even if the university highly financed these coming into existence of inventions. Laboratory, assistants, electron microscopes, X-ray machines. Didn't matter. According to this law, Article 42, inventions made by professors, etc., are free inventions, that means private property of the professor, to be given to industry under his or her conditions, and university didn't get anything. 2002, that changed. Article 42 was modified and is still in force today. That means professor has to notify the invention to to bring it to the attention of university, offering it for acquisition by the university as if it would in private industry, and the university takes the invention, generally. The professor has only one exception in Germany. He has not to give this invention into the custody, so to say, of the university if he does not wish to publish. This is a constitutional right in Germany that an academic teacher of any kind can decide at his own or her own discretion whether to publish the invention or not. As long as she or he does not wish to publish, he has not to inform the university of the invention. This has to do with the freedom of research and teaching, academic freedom. If there is an invention, for example, which would be bad for humanity, and I don't know what, for whatever reason, it is a constitutional right, out from Article 5 of the Constitution, freedom of research and teaching, that you decide whether to publish or not as an academic teacher. Is that often used? Not. But it makes it necessary, and we leave that field now to specific, nothing to do with valuation. It is the reason why in Germany, in order to make collaboration agreements between industry and university, you need always to have a third person involved. You need one agreement between the university and industry, which regulates the financing of a certain project, for example, by industry, and the price the industry pays then to the university for getting the invention. And you need another agreement between the professor and industry, where the professor promises to renounce his or her right not to publish. That means promises to give all inventions to industry, because otherwise industry cannot make a contract with the university which says all inventions made of the possibly even 100% industry financed project are given to industry at the end of the day. Rather, they can only say, I give you all inventions I can get hold of. But what the professor does, whether he promises to give me all inventions so that I can give them to you, I cannot decide this, because our famous or infamous German law concerning inventions made by employees also says that whatever agreements between professor and or any employee and employer is made which diminishes the right of the employee inventor, including the professor, is null and void. So, the professor cannot promise in an employment contract to the university or the country or the government that he gives all inventions to the university. This is illegal. This is null and void. But the professor can do this in a parallel agreement with industry, where he says, irrespective of what you agree with university, I promise you that I will not use my right not to publish. And then we are in the normal way of proceedings between professor, university, and industry, and this is now where I leave this. The professors are entitled, not only the professors, any academic inventor, to get 30% of the gross income the university has out of the commercialization of the invention. So if a university gives an invention to industry at the price of just, say, 10,000 euro, the professor gets out of this 3,000 euro, 30%. The university cannot deduct any cost for patent applications, administration, marketing, or whatsoever out of the gross income. It was a long dispute in Germany in 2000, 2001, before the law in 2002 came into force, the new one, whether one should take the net income, and then a certain percentage of the net income would go to the inventor, lower than maybe 10%, 15%, I don't know, because the consideration was in the last session, so to say, of the legislative process in the parliament, in the German parliament. Too much of manipulation can be done between gross income and net income. So this is not good for the inventors. It has to be the gross income. We don't care what cost the university has for marketing the inventions. It has to be the gross purchase price, then 30%. Now, we go into this valuation process. Now applicable in private industry as well as in universities. The valuation of the invention depends, as I said already, on the determination of the commercial value of the invention. Erfindungswert in German. Value of invention. Imagine, we have this since 1942. It was not invented in the 80s or 90s in the United States. And each German company does this every year. What important is for you, the law is, by the way, downloadable in English from WIPO website. Also the guidelines how to calculate remuneration are available from the website of WIPO. Also the guidelines for industry-university collaboration in Germany are downloadable from WIPO. They are edited, these guidelines, including template or model agreements by the German Federal Ministry for Economy and Energy, forget the energy, also economy, where a standing committee or working group, which is chaired by me, edits these model agreements and templates. They are revised once every 2 years. Latest edition is, in other words, of 2017. You will find my picture and my name and whatever there. And in this committee of the ministry sit about 25 people. They are usually the heads of IP of big German companies, but also of Max Planck Innovation, of Fraunhofer Association, of German university collaboration groups for industry university collaboration, and they sit together and they give new editions of these guidelines every 2 years, as I said. You can find it all in English. Now, the guidelines of the law, one thing is the German law concerning inventions made by employees, practically in identical form also existing in Austria by, remember, in 1942, Austria was part of Greater Germany, so also applicable there. Is accompanied, the law is not very voluminous. It is about 20 pages maybe, but the guidelines accompanying it, called Guidelines How to Calculate Remuneration for Employees' Inventions, are about 300 pages, very voluminous, and regulate in each and every detail how the fair share, first of all, how the value of an invention shall be determined, and then made the basis for the calculation of the fair share which an employee inventor gets. And there it is said, and this is important for our consideration what follows now based on these slides, that whenever possible, the value of the invention should be determined according to license analogy. You will know, those of you who have to do with patent litigation, how to calculate damages which should be paid by an infringer to the patentee what license analogy is. License analogy is the following in our context here. You bring the inventor and the employer into a fictive scenario or relation of a licensor, which would be the inventor, and a licensee, which would be the employer. And you say, arm's length, what would the employer have to pay to an arm's length third-party inventor from whom she or he would license in the invention, and that is the value of the invention for the employer, because he saves these royalties for the simple reason that he gets the invention for free from his employee. So the commercial value of the invention are the saved royalties, which the employer does not have to pay to a third party who would be the licensor if licensing in the invention, but he gets it for free from the employee. And out of this, we come to that in detail even more now, out of this value of the invention, the saved royalties, the inventor gets a fair share. In terms of valuation, about which we are talking here today, we will not deal with this share factor anymore, because it is only something by which you multiply. It's always, the share factor is always smaller than 1. It is 0.1, 0.2 or whatsoever, because the employee inventor should not get all the value of the invention, not all the saved royalties, but something which depends on the contribution of the employer on one side and the employee on the other side in the coming into existence of the invention. Very simple. If the chief chemist in a chemical company employed to make inventions practically, this is why you hired him as an employer, high salary, academically trained. If he makes an invention of a new chemical substance, a pharmaceutical, his share factor is very small because he is already paid to make inventions. So he will get maybe value of the invention, license and energy, with which we will deal in detail now, multiplied with 0.05 or 0.1. That means if the arm's length outside inventor would, in our license and energy scenario, get, let's say, 10% royalty, the employee inventor would get 10% of this. That means 1% royalty based on the sales price of the products. But if in the same chemical company, let's say the doorman sitting at the gate of the company, seeing that some badly smelling liquid dribbles out of a tank in which every 1 hour leaves the company there, he is not highly paid, he is maybe of limited intellectual capacity. This is why he's sitting at the gate and not doing research and whatever. If he makes that invention based on the experiences which he got there, because we have not only inventions which can be created out of the fulfillment of the professional duties of the employee, we call these the duty-based inventions, but we have also something which we call the observation-based inventions. That means if the invention is fully or essentially based on experiences which the employee gets out of his employment, and this is clearly the case with this doorman I am describing, If you would not sit there, he never would see the problem with this badly chemical liquid. But if he makes an invention now, let's say a valve which prevents this dripping out of this liquid, he has a very high share factor. He nearly gets as much as if he would be an arm's length outside inventor. Maybe his share factor is 0.9, then times the value of the invention. The academically trained one, 0.1 times that. So he would not get out of the 10% only 1/10, but 90%. That means 9% of the turnover of the company. This is the system. No share factor discussion anymore, but more into the depths of license analogy. Let's see what else we could do in order to determine the value of an invention. It's only for reminding you for a moment. The yield approach is exactly what I discussed until now. It is based on the degree, the volume of the use of the invention by the employer. The yield approach leads us quickly in the next two slides, etc., to license analogy already. The other two approaches, which some people will tell you fully rightly, which are sometimes used to determine the value of an invention, are, for two different reasons, practically never used, certainly not in German industry and universities. And why? The first one is the cost approach. The only thing accountants are usually interested in, business school trained people who know to read, how to read balance sheets, etc., is that they look for a trace, for something which could be in the balance sheet and in the books of the company showing the value of invention. Then what you see there is only one thing, namely the cost to bring invention into place. You can see there have been 3 years, 200 people working on this. They bought so and so many electron microscopes, they got that and that salary, and finally the invention came out. It is one possibility to determine the value of invention. Is it useful? No. I would like to give you an example. If you buy, and maybe this is the best comparison, if you buy an apartment house which you wish to rent out later on, you are not interested in what that apartment house has cost the present owner. Maybe you are for one simple reason interested in that you say, okay, if I don't buy that house, what would it cost me to build a similar house instead of buying this? But that's all. What you are interested in is, what can I earn per year out of renting this apartment house to other people? That means the income which I can create out of this investment.
Excuse me, may I interrupt before you forward? โทษนะครับพอดีว่าเรามีจริงๆเรามีเอกสารแจกอยู่2ชุดนะครับจะได้ตามที่อาจารย์พูดเราใช้ QR code จะมีชุดที่เป็น PowerPoint กับชุดที่เป็น Web Commentary นะครับแต่ถ้าไม่ทราบ
Yeah, okay. So the papers are here, freely to be distributed, no problem, and even more about this employee invention, more in writing. As soon as you need it, give me an email and send it to you. You can freely publish these things. Okay, now, cost approach, in other words, pretty useless for commercial purposes, because you are not interested as a potential buyer of this invention, the cost. Only for this comparison purposes, I told you, what about I don't buy, I just make it myself. Second approach, market approach. Wonderful. Market approach is the question, what has in similar cases in the last 1 to 3 years, a company who wished to buy a certain invention paid for that. Very nice if you would know it, but you never will know it, because these deals are very secret, nobody knows, It is only in one instance useful if it is between the same parties. If Bayer AG, German pharma company, works since many years together with a little spin-off biotech company which comes from a certain university and regularly buys inventions there, they will always be able, because they know from the former experiences between these parties what, taking into due consideration the changing circumstances, the appropriate price for that invention would be. So if they wish to buy a company, or wish to buy a patent out of a company, the first is called the so-called share deal, you buy the company, the shares. The second one is an asset deal, you buy the patent out of this company. You could use this market approach, but only if you know the market conditions. And if you don't know them, if it is between different parties, very difficult. So the last one is this infamous, as I told you, yield approach. Here we go into license analogy. I had told you that this is the method which is recommended in Germany. This is this license analogy, preferred method how to calculate value of an invention according to German employee invention law. And now in these guidelines, which I told you, namely guidelines how to calculate employee inventors remuneration, you find an interesting paragraph which says that the employer is free, instead of paying annually, always in the 3 months of a calendar year, I told you, based on the turnover last year, the employer is free, instead of that, to pay a lump sum remuneration. That means, how does this work? That the employer puts up a business plan. We don't have a blackboard here, but you can immediately imagine on the left column of an Excel nowadays sheet, you would put the years. Now it is 2018, and the invention is made this year, let's say. 2018 plus 20 years, the duration of a patent. For pharma, always plus 5 years in Europe. Supplemental protection certificate. There is not a single pharma invention which would not be protected for 25 years instead of 20 years. Why? Pharma industry wishes to extend, for good reasons, the protection to the maximum time. There's no other industry where inventions have such a high value like in pharma because of the price stabilizing effect. In Germany, when you buy a certain pharmaceutical today, let's say it costs 10 euro or US dollar per tablet, as soon as it goes off patent, it costs only 5% thereof, maximum 10%. So the price goes from the 10 euro down to 50 cents or 1 euro, and that's it. So they wish to keep patents in force as long as possible. But to make Excel table from year 0 or 1, where we are now, to year, let's say 25, then we cover all technologies. Then you put into your business plan the expected turnover you as the employer would expect to make with products protected by this invention. Maybe in the first 5 years, 0, 0, 0, 0, because it would be a pharmaceutical invention, let's say, you need FDA approval, maybe even for 7 years, you don't expect any turnover, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then it starts, and you project now what do you expect to sell, how many net sales per year. And in the next column, you put the expected royalties, which you would pay to somebody else if you would not have the invention acquired from your employee. For that, you need a royalty rate, of course. You have the turnover, the sales, and now you need a percentage based on experience. Where do you get this figure from? Royalty. There's one rule, if you wish so, based on observation. Our dear friend, my dear friend, at least former Chief Judge Randall Rader of the Court of Appeal for the Federal Circuit in the United States, unfortunately, with his court about 7 years ago, misunderstood this rule I'm talking about, but it is still very much applicable. It is the so-called 25% rule. If you do a little bit of search, of Googling in Les Nouvelles, for example, in the website of the Licensing Executive Society International, LESI.org, you find Les Nouvelles, LES, Nouvelles. This is the quarterly issuing magazine of LESI. And there you find, because it's fully searchable, in the year 1988-89 or so, a Mr. Goldscheider, Gold, G-O-L-D, Scheider, E-I-D-E-R, Goldscheider, good old German name. His ancestors emigrated from Germany somewhere into the United States. He published for the first time this so-called 25% rule. What does it say? Very brief for you that you can remember it. You don't have to read it all that. He analyzed about 300 license agreements. He was a technology broker from New York, so he did a lot of license negotiations, etc. And he observed about 300 license agreements and saw that the royalty rate expressed as a percentage of net sales or turnovers in various industries usually was 25% of the profit margin. Example, German luxury car industry has a profit margin, they published this recently, Porsche, of 12%. That means if you sell a car at 100,000 euro, you earn about 12,000 euro out of it. The other thing is cost to make the car, to buy the components, etc. So 12% profit margin, now apply 25% rule. 25% of that on force is 3%. And typically you find in this type of industry, car industry, mechanical industry, whatever, royalty rates from market observations of 3 to 4%, 25%. In pharma, where for blockbusters, the profit margin is 60 to 80%, you will find royalty rates of 15 to 20%, 1/4 again of the profit margin. This can all be obtained from data banks, but also, for example, from something that I cannot go into detail, of the regularly once per year taking place publication of a board of arbitration for employees' inventions. This is an institution at the German Patent and Trademark Office, GPTO, where all disputes between employers and employee inventors have been brought before you can go to court. That means in Germany an employee who cannot agree with his or her employer on the reasonable remuneration, the fair remuneration she or he should get, cannot go directly to court, but must go to the Board of Arbitration first. And the Board of Arbitration handles per year about 200 cases, not more. The other 79,800 or so of the 80,000 inventions coming out of Germany are regulated without any dispute between employee and employer, but about 200 cases per year end in the Board of Arbitration. And only after the Board of Arbitration you can go to court, employer or employee, in which case the Federal Supreme Court at the end of the day gets maybe 5 cases per year, not more out of the 80,000. Anyway, this Board of Arbitration publishes every year the results of these 200 settlements which they propose. royalty rates in the majority, because this is the practically only dispute between employer and employee, what royalty rate should be used. And there you have this data, and they confirm the 25% rule I have talked about. So, we are still in our valuation. You make the business and NPV determination here, what we said here. Where is this? This one a different level, this one. Maybe before it will here, this one. So you have the years, you have the turnovers, your business plan, how many products, how much in terms of money the employer will sell. You know the royalty rate now, and now you make another column which then contains expected turnover or sales times the royalty rate, the expected royalty which would be saved, which means which otherwise you would have paid to an outside licensor. And this you can immediately transform into a so-called net present value. This is the amount of royalties which otherwise the employer would save in the future at its today's value. When I talk to my lawyer partners, you know, I am a partner, besides of academic activities, I am the senior partner of a IP firm which consists of lawyers and patent attorneys. We are about 130 or so patent attorneys, technical people like myself. I am a physicist, I have a PhD in physics, and we have about 20 to 30 lawyers. The lawyers do copyright, trademark, etc. Non-technical subjects. The patent attorneys, obviously, technical subjects. And if I go to my lawyer partners and I say, can you tell me if somebody saves or pays, doesn't matter, it's the same, in the next 10 years, per year, 10,000 euro, 10,000 per year. What is the net present value of this today? They will look at me and will say, so easy, 10 times 10,000, that means 100,000. And I then say, this is the reason why you studied law and left mathematics when you were about 16 years old, when they came in your school education with the pension formula, because this is nothing else than a pension formula, and it reflects that money which you have today is of higher value than money which is 10 years later to be paid to you. And they left that school, or school, they stayed at school but decided never to study anything which would have to do with mathematics, because this formula was too complicated. So they studied law. But this is a joke, of course. This is only what I tell my lawyer partners. For you who are scientists or business trained people here, you will understand this formula right away. It is built as follows. And this is in Germany. Look, in Germany, we don't believe in judges. We only believe in law. So everything has to be codified and written down, and this is good. But what judges make of it, as most Germans think, is possibly or with some certainty even bad. So it is in the law. You will find in these guidelines, which have the character of a law, attached to the German Employees Invention Law, this formula that the employer, if he wishes to pay a lump sum, instead of paying based on the annual turnover later on, certain amount of remuneration to the employee, must follow this formula. The NPV here is very easy. It is now the summary of this Excel sheet I'm talking about. It is first, we are in 2018, and you will put, let's say, next year, 2019, as the year 0, because no discount, no interest rate effect yet in just a few months. So C0 would be the royalties which you would save next year. If next year no turnover, remember our text of our Excel sheet, C0 would be 0. So simple, very simple. Then comes the year thereafter, C1, that would be 2020 in our example here. Royalties to be expected to be saved. Turnover times royalty rate, C1. Maybe, if we are in our example, still no turnover, of course, C1 would be 0, C2, etc. But let's assume it is not just a pharma product, it's a bicycle. You would probably already next year and in 2 years already have turnover. So C1. C1 you have to divide by 1 plus R. What is R? This is a discount determined or interest rate determined subfactor. R equals, if you have to pay to lend money from a bank, if the interest rate is 10%, R would be much better, thank you. So, if the interest rate is 10%, R would be 0.1. If the interest rate is 20%, like from venture capitalists, R would be 0.2, and so on. You will see when you develop this formula, I could write this in a different form, mathematically with a sum sign, but I don't wish to deter people who are not so well acquainted with mathematics. So, C1 divided by 1 plus R, if R is 0.1, 1.1 is still nearly the same as C1. If you develop this up to the terminal year, Ty, and if the terminal year is like in our example here, 20 or even 25, you will see that practically all terms, as mathematicians call it, beyond 10 come so close to 0 that the destructive power of this denominator destroys it all. It eliminates it all, which means now from a half philosophical viewpoint, you don't never have to look into years higher than 10 or so, which is good because foreseeing the future becomes more and more difficult the farther the future is away. But you see the contributions of all of the years here, and you add this up, and this is the net present value. This is the famous pension formula of these saved royalties over the lifetime of the patent. Word still should you really, as the terminal year, always say 20 or 25? No. What the German Federal Highest Court of Tax Systems, Bundesfinanzhof, Federal Finance Court, says you should take the probable lifetime of a patent in Germany. And the German Patent Office publishes every year in February the time they observe the year before for which patents in Germany were kept in force. Because not all patents are, you have to pay annuities, kept in force until the end of their lifetime. But I know, for example, that in 2015 that was 14.2 years. That means 14.2 years was the average time after which patentees did not pay annuities anymore. So the patents died. And now the approximation is, this is what the Finance Federal Court says, nobody gives up a patent as long as it is commercially used, and nobody will pay for a patent anymore on the other side as soon as it is no longer commercially used. So the probable use time is 14 years. So if you use in certain contexts that formula for normal inventions without knowing better for specific cases, you would take as the terminal year here 14. It would be 1 plus 0.1, 1.1 to the 14. This becomes 0 anyway, close to 0. What about different industries? You also can look and ask the German Patent Office for certain technical fields, international classes of technology. So, for semiconductors, the lifetime is only 6 to 7 years. semiconductor patents are usually given up 6 to 7 years after filing. Then the new, Moore's law, etc., every second year doubles the number of transistors or whatever per chip, etc. So 6 to 7 years. If you look into pharma, 25 years. This is always towards the very, very end. So you can do a little bit better than taking these 14 years, and you should modify your Excel sheet for determining the NPV accordingly. Yeah, having said this, what do German companies do with this NPV-based value of invention, which they determine per year? Or maybe in this case, they determine at the beginning when they take the invention. They put it also for the already used inventions, the running inventions, based on the production of last year, etc., into a side book, not into the balance sheet, because in Europe, as in the United States, you cannot put so-called self-created intellectual property into the balance sheet. You have only the cost somewhere, how to create the intellectual property and the invention, but you cannot put these figures into the balance sheet. And this is the reason it cannot be in the balance sheet, it cannot be activated, as we call it, is the reason, or one of the, but probably the most important reason, why the market value of tech companies like Microsoft, Google, whatsoever, is so much higher, maybe $100 billion compared with what you would see in the balance sheet, where you might find 2 billion only, and not 100 billion. All in between are things which you cannot activate, you cannot show in the balance sheet. And that means it is the goodwill, it is the trademarks, it is the brand, the reputation, but it is also the intellectual property, the value of the patents and whatever sacred know-how which is all contained there. So the German companies do, the small ones and the big ones, they have a side book which is not visible from the balance sheet, where they, for the 31st of December of each year, and the university can do the same of course, write down the value of all of their inventions, so that they know if the CEO or the family owner of our typical companies in Germany are not Bayer and Siemens and whatever, they are small and medium-sized enterprises. 80% of our GDP comes from companies with less than 1,000 employees. When the CEO sits in the United States at a glass of wine or whatever, with a potential investor and calls his patent department and says, can you just tell in the middle of the night what is presently the value of our patents? The guy can look into that book and will say, oh, last 31st of December 2017, it was $42 million. Wonderful, because you have to take this plus the value of brick and mortar and whatever into consideration if you are considering to make an offer to somebody what you wish to get in terms of money if you sell your company or you sell a share of it and whatsoever. And why is this all so important for public research institutions, for universities like you here? It is so important because the typical way, at least in Germany, in which startups or spin-offs are financed, are built, is the following. A GmbH, limited company, is a company with limited liability, a special German form, it could be anything else. But typically in Germany it would be a GmbH, is formed, which has two founders, two owners at the beginning. The one is the university, second one is a private investor, or group of private investors. The university puts into that GmbH let's say it's a biotech spin-off, which has nothing else than one patent application, zero, no bricks, no mortar, no machines, nothing. One invention. It puts into this company the invention. Let's say the invention has a value of $1 million US. Just for calculating. It's not typical, I'm just saying this. $1 million US. And you wish to build this GmbH as a 50-50 joint venture with the private investor. Then the private investor, bank, venture capitalist, whatsoever, puts in cash for one logical moment, $1 million US. From then on, this company has a capital of $2 million US. $1 million, the value of the invention, which the university put in, $1 million cash. No company needs, in this case here, the $1 million in cash. Rather, we would say, okay, we need maybe 100,000 in cash, so 900,000 are immediately paid back by the joint venture to the investor, to the capitalist, or to the university. They don't need this. Oh, no, 900,000 are paid back to the investor. So the company has then the invention and 100,000, and the inventor or university gets the unnecessary cash, not fully, but 50%, because we have now a 50-50 joint venture. So out of the 900,000, 450,000 go back to the investor, are never paid. The other 450,000 go in cash to the university. The share is with the inventor, etc. This is the typical way to found such a start-up, which then becomes industrialized later on, etc. And the beginning of it is the valuation of the intellectual property the university gives in such a case into this joint venture as its part of the total capital. The rest is coming from the investor, and then half paid back, half the university, etc. There are certain countries where the amount of capital which you can give by inventions is restricted. In China it was for a long time, of course. It could be maximum 25% of the whole capital. I don't know how it is at the moment, so you will have locally to check how much you can replace cash injection by inventions, by valued inventions. But the basis is, in Israel we find this all the time, exactly what I'm following or explaining to you here. This is the basis. Examples for this? Yes, I can give you one market example. You might wish even to look into your Google, or no, I think it's Google, not Wikipedia. You will find a German company which is called Novalet. Novaled. Novalet. It is a company which specializes in OLEDs, organic light emitting diodes. It was a spin-off of Dresden Technical University. Dresden is a city in the eastern part of Germany. Novalet. That was founded in the year 2001, I think. And it was so interesting how it was founded. There was the university with one gifted inventor. The university, by virtue of the gifted inventor, had, if I see this correctly, one patent application. It was exactly that example we have here. So they founded Novalet GmbH. Novalet GmbH got the invention from the university. The professor became the first actually managing director of that company. That needs a special agreement with the university again. They would allow this. This can be done in Germany, no problem with that. And there was a capital investor, of course. So they had something like these 2 million we talked about. 1 million invention, 1 million capital, paid back, etc. Then they got, and you see how these companies typically best should be run. They got a gifted managing director. The first one was a French person, Gilles Sorin, S-O-R-I-N. He came from Pensant in France, an electronic company. totally unrelated. But they got him as a first managing director. He, I think, did not know what an organic light emitting diode is. He was a businessman, and his task was to get money, investors, to develop this whole thing. Now, I don't wish to go through all the story. I'm only related in so far to it because we did all patent applications for them, partners of mine, and I did the licensing work, etc. They sold it about 5 years ago to Samsung for about 300 million euro. And that money was divided equally, as far as I know. I cannot describe any details here. It was divided 1/3 to the investor, 1/3 to the university, 1/3 to the management of that company. So it was quite a nice experience for this Mr. Sorin, who then left the company and is now building the next adventure, in this sense also with OLEDs again, but it's in a different environment. It is in Karlsruhe in Germany and the rest of the world. But this is how it is done. What I wanted to say with this last example is, it is important in the development of such start-offs or spin-offs to have somebody who understands money and finances. That cannot be done by a scientist, by an engineer, also not by a patent person. He needs this financial guy, of course, inventors making inventions through the university or employed ones. He needs, of course, legal advice, patent attorneys, lawyers, whatever. But the art of how to solicit money, investment into such a company, is something special. I don't personally know how to do this, but there are people who can do this. Typically, these companies are run by MBAs, by people who have studied economy, by finance officers who know how to do this. Yeah, this is all I can tell you here today. Maybe you wish to read a little bit of the papers which I have offered and partly already made available, and I hope it gives you some, let's say, incentive to think, nothing else. Thank you so much. Yeah.
สวัสดีครับแนะนำตัวเองนะครับผมเป็นผู้อำนวยการศูนย์ทรัพย์สินทางปัญญาและองค์กรวิสาหกิจของมหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์นะครับชื่ออาร์ตนันเจนะครับจริงๆก็เป็นอาจารย์คณะพาณิชย์ภาคการเงินพอดีรับลูกต่อจากโปรเฟสเซอร์รอนด้าเลยนะครับขอการที่จะฟ้องจำเป็นเนี่ยก็ต้องการเงินด้วยแต่วันนี้เข้าใจว่าส่วนใหญ่มาการเนี่ยจะดูเรื่องของ IP valuation นะครับซึ่งเมื่อกี้อาจารย์รอนด้าก็เล่าให้เราฟังแล้วผมคิดว่าตัวอย่างเยอรมันเป็นตัวอย่างที่น่าสนใจนะเพราะของพวกเราเนี่ยเราทำ valuation เราก็ทำเพื่อไปต่อรองแต่เขาต้องทำเพื่อจ่ายไปกฎหมายนะเพราะฟังอาจารย์บอกว่าแม้กระทั่งพวกเราเป็นลูกจ้างก็อยู่ปตทนะครับอยู่มหาวิทยาลัยต่อไปเราฟังเรื่องนี้ไปแล้วแหละอาจารย์ได้นะว่าใช้งานเราเนี่ยจ่ายตังค์เราด้วยนะมีวิธีจ่ายตังค์3 รูปแบบนะครับวิธีแรกก็คือ cost base cost base เนี่ยในตัวผมก็เคยไปฟังมาหลายที่คนก็บอกให้ใช้วิธีนี้แต่วิธีนี้เนี่ยถ้ามองในภาพมันก็ไม่ค่อยแฝงใช่ไหมเราเป็นปตทอย่างเงี้ยไฟแนนซ์เป็น10 โปรเจกต์ขายได้จะใช้งานได้1 โปรเจกต์แล้วก็บอกว่าคิดเฉพาะต้นทุนของโปรเจกต์นั้นนะมันเป็นบิสเนสที่ไม่ต้องคิดอะไรมากแค่มองดูว่าเจ๊งจะชัดอยู่แล้วแต่ว่าจะพบว่าวิธีนี้ใช้กันเยอะมากนะฮะเหตุผลเพราะมันง่ายดีไงเพราะมันโชว์ตัวเลขอัพให้ผมเดี๋ยวหลอกอันนี้ใช้ไป2 ล้านงั้นผมขออัพก่อน2 ล้านก็คือทุนนะฮะแล้วเหลือคุยกันโรยัลตี้ฟรีนะครับแต่ว่าก็จะสังเกตเห็นว่ามันไม่ยั่งยืนนะครับกับวิธีอันหนึ่งก็คือวิธี2 อันก็เป็นยิวแล้วก็เป็น NPV นะฮะผมคิดว่าแบบ NPV เนี่ยเป็นวิธีการที่ค่อนข้างที่จะใช้กันมากนะครับแต่ความยากของมันก็คือต้องโปรเจกต์แคชโฟลว์ในอนาคตขึ้นมาได้ดังนั้นจริงๆแล้วเวลาที่เราคุยเรื่องพวกนี้เนี่ยหมายความว่าบริษัทจะต้องแชร์ข้อมูลว่าสินค้าของเราสินค้าที่เราใช้เนี่ยจะต้องขายได้เท่าไหร่มาให้แชร์เท่าไหร่นะฮะแต่ข้อดีอย่างหนึ่งเขาบอกว่าถึงแม้สิทธิบัตรจะอายุ20 ปีแต่เราไม่ต้องเป็นโปรเจกต์20 ปีนะครับเพราะเหตุผล2 อย่างนี้ก็คือเวลาตัวเลขยกกำลังอยู่ข้างล่างแล้วเนี่ยมันจะ จะทวีคูณขึ้นมาจนกระทั่งทำให้กลายเป็นศูนย์ในโค้ดต่างๆไปซึ่งปรากฏว่าที่เป็นข้อของเขาที่ใช้ก็คือ14 ปีนะครับแต่ถ้าเกิดเป็นยาก็อาจจะเป็นแพ็กเกจนะฮะหรือว่าเป็นพวกอิเล็กทรอนิกส์อะไรชิปพวกนี้ก็ถ้าจำไม่ผิด6 ปีนะ7 ปีอะไรอย่างเงี้ยครับงั้นผมคิดว่าอันนี้ก็เป็นตัวอย่างนะโอเคก็ทุกคนรับขอได้นะชีทอยู่ในอีเมลที่ส่งมานะครับแต่เดี๋ยววันนี้โค้ชจะวัดได้ก็อยู่กับเราอีกสักครึ่งชั่วโมงได้แล้วนะนั่นก็ถือเป็นโอกาสดีนะครับที่คุณเมย์เราได้อยากจะถามอะไรครับ
Well, first of all, thank you for the wonderful lecture today. One thing I have to mention, normally in many class of variation, they always say that this method is always the best. But practically, I guess in Thailand, when we calculate the number by this method, we couldn't get it. Yeah, it's always too expensive. So what should we do? Should we stop calculating?
Yeah. Also, I fully understand. I'm not saying that you always get this. There is no justice on earth as it is written in laws, but it is a question of negotiation power, of course. It might well be that you get it or you don't get it, but typically the discrepancy at the negotiation table is always as follows. If you are the university and you determine the value here, you wish to use the interest rate here, where we have here as an example 10%, you wish, because you are the one who is paid at the end of the day, you wish to use usually an interest rate which you would get if you would deposit the money at the bank or so. This is very typical. So this is pretty low. The industry part, on the other hand, is calculating differently because they are the ones who have to pay. They will put in the interest rate of the lending money. In a venture capitalist, it would be 20% even, so 0.2 for R. A normal bank would probably give it at 0.1% or so. So you should know if you use the interest rate, what you really will get at the end of the day is probably, and industry knows the same thing, is the interest rate you would get today for depositing money at a bank. And about 3 or 4 times higher is at the end of the day what somebody would get out here if he calculates based on the interest rate for lending money somewhere. So you should know, as long as you don't ask for more than what you could get if depositing at a bank, you are in a rather strong position. Industry would pay more usually. But you should not start with, I know this too well, that you go to industry and say, look, if you would lend money today, as you know, you would pay 20% at a venture capitalist, 10% at a bank, so this is a tremendous high. No, it is not the high value, but your really back up, not back up, your fallback position is the one with the lower interest rate. In Germany, you would nowadays get probably the depositing money 4%. This is high already. You would go with these 4% here, and the venture capitalist still would request 20%. So somewhere in between is the negotiation leeway which you might have. Yeah. So. And still, industry might say, I give you just 50% of your value, because there's a risk in it. Nobody knows how your wonderful business model will develop. Maybe 3 years after we have started, it turns out that your electromotor for your bicycle is a failure, there's a better one. In a pharmacy, it is poisonous, it does not get market approval, etc. And here you cannot go into such detail, but here today, I said for royalty rates, which go here very basically into this is where seeds are based on. It is this 25%. The 25% rule always applies to the royalty rates which would be observed in the marketplace if the product is ready to be marketed. That means for a mature product. And there is a famous, it's called Yamazaki curve. There's a Mr. Yamazaki, you find it, I think, also in the papers, otherwise I send it to you, I have more about that. There is a publication by Mr. Yamazaki, Y-A-M-A-Z-A-K-I, Yamazaki, I forgot the first name. He was the business development head of Yamanouchi Pharmaceuticals in Japan in the 90s of last century. And he published in 95 or 96, I can send you the article, the copy, in the Nouvelle, which I have cited. He published an article which was approximately called Royalty Rates in Pharma. What he did, similar to what Bob Goldscheider did in the 80s, where the 25% rule comes from, he observed the royalty rates in pharma license agreements, a couple of hundreds actually, which were concluded between innovators and pharma companies at different times of the development stage of the pharmaceutical. And what turned out was the following. If you would have, let's say, a royalty rate of 20% at the time of FDA approval, that means when the product is ready to be marketed, and you go down to the time when the candidate is just determined, the new molecule, let's say the year 0, if the end royalty rate, which in other words, somebody would pay if the product is licensed out in the stage where it can be sold in a pharmacy, if it is there 20%, then it is at the beginning, in the first year or the first 2 years, only something like 1.5 to 2%. And this is the famous Yamazaki curve. It is not linear. It shows, and at the time scale in this curve, it is published in the Nouvelle, is not just years, it is development stage. Preclinical 1, preclinical 2, preclinical 3, clinical phase 1 to FDA approval. And then you see that this curve jumps up, which means if you make the valuation now, the NPV, at year 1, then you will get only a royalty rate to be put into this formula, which is 10% of the 20, maybe 2%. So, because from then on the risk of failure is fully with the acquirer of this technology. And there is a observation, it is a long article of Mr. Yamazaki in 95-96, which says that only 10%, maybe even only 5% of all candidates, because of the high attrition rate, survive and later on come into a pharmaceutical marketable compound, which later on can be sold. So this is this risk factor. That means you must also look, when you determine NPV, not into a royalty rate which is paid for a marketable product, but you must go down this virtual Yamazaki curve. In which stage am I here? Is there still a very high risk for the acquirer, for the industry part, where you wish to get money from, and that is justified, because they will say, yeah, as soon as I have paid, the whole risk of failure, not only of failure that the patent will not be granted, that opposition or invalidation takes place, but also the failure of the technology as such is with me, once paid, finished. So I have no, I cannot earn any more later on what you tell me I could earn. So these are considerations which additionally have to be looked at. Yeah, thank you.
So here it is that employee for this company. Suppose I'm not retired yet, but I develop something that the company use for commercial product. I'm supposed to get my remuneration the next year according to this scheme, okay? But the company, the salary, the might be so complex. They might say that, okay, I can promote you to be the manager, but I give you just only this particular percent.
Fully understood, and of course the German legislators thought about this, because we have Article 12, I think, of the law concerning employee invention made by employees. If circumstances after payment was made changed considerably beyond the time when the remuneration was paid, the employee, never the employer, the employee is entitled in an adjustment, a retroactive adjustment. So if you show after 5 years this business plan was totally nonsense because the value is much higher, the employee gets more money. And I would apply the same, but this depends now, of course, on the context. In the law for employee-employer relation, it is binding. That means the employee has that right later on to request a balancing payment, a surplus payment. But in private agreements, of course not. After we have used the formula, you would have to include it into the agreement between the industry collaboration partner and the university, that you say in case of particularly high turnovers, if it exceeds that, certain additional payments have to be made, at least in the general sense that you would say according to good faith negotiations, or you would even say so and so much percent based on so and so much the thresholds have to be paid afterwards. This is negotiation business. This is normal, and it would only mirror-like reflect what we have in the law concerning employer-employee anyway as a binding factor. Yeah?
Thank you. ที่คำถามต่อไปครับที่ดีใจ
Okay, in case that you say law is the inventors should have the rights of the license. It should, in the German, it belong to the employer or may it belong to the vendor for the license that they invent and open.
This is very clear. The ownership of the invention, both for employees in private industry and since 2002 also in public service for universities. The ownership of the invention after claiming, as we call it, belongs to the employer. The employee has not the right anymore to determine what happens with the invention. He has the right to be informed, but he is not his inventions anymore. He can only be consulted if the employer likes, but ownership dictates. That means the ownership is transferred from the employee to the employer. The employee is the licensor. They can do what they like, and the employee just gets the remuneration, nothing else.
In case the employee is like leave of the company before the time span of the program, how can they do?
Also, this right, first of all, the transfer of ownership takes place at the time the employer claims the invention, as we say. Claims means it is, according to Germanian, not only Germany, but also in Scandinavian law, it is a unilateral, factual act of acquisition. No assignment. That means here is the inventor, he has the invention. He must notify me. I, as the employer, put my magician coat on and say, I hereby claim the invention. And then I take my hand and put my hand into your pocket, take the invention out, put it into my pocket. I own it now. So, then there is the right of the inventor to get this fair remuneration. This goes without any limit beyond termination of the contract whatsoever. So if the employer afterwards leaves the company, the remuneration still has to, if the employee leaves the company, the remuneration still has to be paid to the employee. If the employee dies, It has to be paid to the heirs. This is part of part of the estate of the employee. Does not end with the employment. Yeah?
Do we have another question to ask? Maybe a series of questions. Because the program that provides to the employees like annual payments, in the term of the plan, maybe in the future it's not like good enough, or maybe it's not met that the original plan. How can adjust? Maybe it's up and down. On the downside, we have come to the employer can negotiate with the plan, amend the plans, something like that.
What happens is the following. First of all, we have, I think, cleared this situation. What happens if the employee somewhere leaves the company or dies or does something else? He still gets the same payment as if he would still be with the company, or the heirs get it whatsoever. This is done. Now, if later on it turns out that this business plan, which has led to a certain NPV, to which both parties have agreed at the time when this money was paid, if later on it turns out that this assumption in the business plan, which is always a projection into the future, very uncertain, that this was wrong, then it depends on how wrong it was. Because the law says, I think it's Article 12, if circumstances substantially change after the determination of the remuneration, then the employee can request a recalculation, which means a higher remuneration. It never can be, this is with purpose built into the law favoring of the employee. The employer can never get money back. What has been paid has been paid. Finished. So, that's the only thing I can say. The employee is in a very favorable situation. He can always request adjustment, but the employer can't request adjustment. Yeah? Thank you. By the way, I should also mention this immediately. As long as a patent application is only pending, the patent is not granted, only 50%, 50, of the normal remuneration are paid. That means patent application pending, and you would get a certain amount of money per year or so, not the NPV cases. Then, after the patent is granted, that doubles. That's it. Yeah? Thank you. So,
thank you. In case of your case study about the GMPS, yes, you mentioned that the university invests $1 billion and the investor invests $1 billion. In my question is, who is the one who evaluates the price of the innovation of the university? Is there any is it agreement between the full party, or they have some third party to evaluate?
No, you can do this, of course, but this is free negotiation. Of course, the law only the law, which is binding in Germany, has only to do with the relation between employer and employee. So in this case, you need follow the law in order to determine the value. But whether a third party, some collaboration partner, like an industry entity, whether they are willing to acknowledge this calculation of the value, which you use as the university towards your own inventor, whether they acknowledge this or say, no, this is all fantasy, we just believe it is 10% of that. This is the question of negotiation power between the university and the investor, the industry party. This is not provided by law. Free negotiation. Yeah? Thank you. This is why financial persons are necessary on the side of university. Yeah? Many modifications are possible. You can build into these considerations also that at the moment it is agreed between the industry, investor or collaborator at the university that the value of the invention is a certain price, and that you would say in case that the turnover out of the use of the invention is higher than this and that and that, certain still milestone payments additionally have to be made later on. This is all freely negotiable. There is no legal provision which would prescribe it should be like that or that. Yeah. It is always only important, I can only say, and you make this in your own experiences of course, I find, and I tell my clients and my students all the time, you must have in license negotiations, in sale negotiations, always a rationale why you come to that value. If you sit in a license negotiation and say, I think the royalty rate should be 4%, then the other side will immediately say, why? And then you should be able to say, because this is a luxury car business and we know that the profit margin is 12%, we assume this, so 3% would be a good royalty rate, 3 to 5% or something. You must always be able to give a rational answer in negotiations for your standpoint. Whether you get it then, that is a big question, because the other side may be, but we are not in Porsche, we sell these small tiny electro cars, profit margin is 2%, so royalty rate should just be 0.5 or something like this. But you need to find a rational basis, and beyond that, it is negotiation power. Yeah?
He asked a question about the ownership again, that if you work for the university, who will be the owner of the patent? Who will be the owner of the patent or the invention? If you work for the university,
the owner.
Yeah.
Okay, case for a university, it depends on the country, of course, in which you are, but in Germany, even the state-owned university, and 90+% of our universities are state-owned, the owner of the patent would be the university. Very clearly, the university has the right to take the invention and file for a patent. And if the university then decides, I do not wish to hold this invention, they might have, some universities have this. For example, Erlangen in Germany is a university north of Munich, near Nuremberg, which cooperates very, very closely with Siemens AG, for example. It's actually, Siemens is on the same campus. They do a lot of collaborative work. The University of Erlangen owns 100% the GmbH, which is a private company, but 100% of the shares are owned by the university, and they apply all patents in the name of this GmbH. So the university as such, which is in Germany an entity of public right, they could own inventions, and most universities do, but Erlangen, for example, does not do this because there are so many inventions which they industrially use by licensing out to Siemens or selling it or so, that they have their own, let's say, a patent holding. This is this company which they own, and in the name of that patent holding, Erlangen something scientific, GmbH, they own all patents. That can be done. Yeah?
One question. mean that the remuneration of the invention of the university. I mean that if I am working as a professor in the university, I can get money for this invention or not.
Interesting. First of all, if you are a professor in a state-owned university, like in Erlangen, you would get a salary, of course. Yeah, it is determined, individually determined before the professor accepts a call to the university, he gets salary from the university. Normally, professors are entitled to work for a certain number of hours per week. Let's say 8 hours, it would be typical out of 40 hours work, but this is individually negotiable. And he could be, in that 8 hours, he could be something else. He could, for example, be a managing director of this GmbH. And now, in Norway or England, now come very interesting disputes. Because, and I am involved in many of these, not scientifically, but practically as an attorney, in these things. Now an invention is created by this professor. He works 32 hours per week in the university. He works 8 hours per week in this company. Maybe a company which has an agreement with him, a private agreement, that all inventions he makes are his own inventions. He can do what he likes. And now it is very decisive. If the professor makes the invention in the 32 hours, or better to say, as an outflow of these 32 hours, even if it makes it at night or whenever, then it is a invention under Article 42 of the Employee Invention Law. He must offer it to university. University gets the patent on it, licenses it out, and gets 70% of the income, only 30% to the professor. If the professor makes this invention, however, in the 8 hours, or as an outflow of these 8 hours where he is not considered to be an employee of the university, it is his own invention, and if he gives it to industry, he gets 100%, not only 30%. And there are big disputes always. How and when was this invention made? Was it in the allowed side work time of the professor, or was it made in the 32 hours where he acts as a professor? Many legal cases always ending with settlements, because this is at the end of the day not something which you could really decide, because the professor has it only in his brain when he woke up at night, whether he was thinking as a professor or thinking as a shareholder of this GmbH. Difficult to say, but we are pointing to a very important factor, which is uncertainty. All in these fields here, it is always an approximation to come to just solutions. A lot is due to negotiations, good faith, and building trust at the end of the day, because that professor probably would not like in future to be disregarded when the industry partner would like to give more money to the university into certain projects or so, but he would like to be a person who can be trusted. So settlements are always necessary, yeah? But the question is very important, yeah.
Thank you.
So, can you give more information about the situation in Thailand? คำว่าประเทศไทยเนี่ยนะครับจะได้ยินข่าวว่าลุงตู่เองเนี่ยผู้ใหญ่เนี่ยก็มีการคุยถึงกฎหมายที่อเมริกาที่ชื่อ Valuation ใช่ไหมฮะที่อเมริกาใช้มา30 ปีแล้วก็กำลังจะแอพพลายในไทยแต่ว่าจริงๆธรรมศาสตร์เองไม่ได้หลอก Valuation นะครับเรามีกฎหมายของเราที่ประกาศเรื่องของสิทธิ์นะครับว่าเป็นของมหาวิทยาลัยนะฮะแต่ว่าพร้อมประกาศนั้นเราก็เขียนไว้ด้วยนะก็คล้ายๆ Valuation นั่นแหละว่าแต่ไม่ใช่อยู่มหาวิทยาลัยเอาของอาจารย์มาไม่จ่ายตังค์อะไรก็เลยนะเราก็มีการกำหนดไว้ว่ามหาวิทยาลัยต้องจ่ายค่าตอบแทนกับอาจารย์ในการใช้สิทธิบัตรเช่นกันอันนี้ในปกติแล้วเนี่ยเราจะกำหนดไว้ชัดเจนว่าจ่ายเท่าไหร่กี่เปอร์เซ็นต์อะไรกันใช่ไหมครับแต่ว่าในเคสนี้เนี่ยผมคิดว่า ก็ไม่ใช่ผมคนเดียวนะพวกผู้ใหญ่เขาก็คิดว่ามันเป็นเรื่องเคส by เคสจริงๆมันขึ้นอยู่กับหลายแฟกเตอร์นะครับฉะนั้นเราเปิดไว้กว้างๆเราแค่ใช้คำว่าจ่ายนะฮะนั่นนี่คือสิ่งที่สำคัญที่เราอยากให้ทุกคนรู้เกี่ยวกับเรื่องของ IP valuation นะครับแล้วพวกเราเพิ่งไปเรียนกันมาเนี่ยกับดร.เมย์ที่หัวหินใช่ไหมฮะเขาบอกว่าถ้าให้นักวิจัยไปคุยเองต่อรองเองเนี่ยก็จะใช้อารมณ์ส่วนใหญ่ก็จะเจ๊งไปคุยกับคนซื้ออะไรเส้นหรืออะไรเนี่ยมันจะไปไม่รอดนะหรือไปต่อรองกับอาจารย์อย่างนี้นะครับอาจารย์เกิดงานไม่สบอารมณ์ขึ้นมานะดีลก็จะเสียเท่าเปล่าแล้วผมคิดว่าวันนี้ทางโปรเฟสเซอร์กอตด้าเนี่ยพูดไปดีว่าคุณต่อรองอะไรได้คุณต้องมีเหตุผลหน่อยใช่ไหมฮะเหมือนอย่างผมไปบอกใช้คอร์สแอปโค้ดพี่แต่ว่าผมลงทุนเป็น10 บริษัทเนี่ยเจ๊งไป9หรือรอดมา1เนี่ยนั้นเองผมลง2 ล้านก็จริงแต่ผมขอ10 เท่าด้วย cover ผมว่าคนฟังเขาก็ต้องคิดนะว่าไอ้นี่มันเป็นความห่วยของคุณทำไมผมต้องมาคอร์สคุณด้วยอะไรที่ข้าบอกใช่ไหมมันไม่ได้มีเหตุผลเนี่ยงั้นเขาก็มองในฝั่งของเขาว่าเขาจะเอาของไปขายเนี่ยมันจะได้กี่บาทนั้นมันควรจะไปเบสกันที่สิ่งที่เขาจะได้แล้วก็เราก็จะได้ผลแบบนั้นไอ้สิ่งที่เราทำเจ๊งไปแล้วจะให้เขาไปรับคอร์สด้วยผมคิดว่าคุยกันไม่รู้เรื่องนะนั้นของธรรมศาสตร์เองภาพที่ชัดธรรมศาสตร์เนี่ยก้าวหน้าไปกว่านั้นอีกขั้นหนึ่งนะครับด้วยการที่ออกประกาศปีนี้มานะครับว่าแม้กระทั่งการตอบแทนด้วยเงินสดเนี่ยนะครับซึ่งแต่เดิมเนี่ยมันก็ตรงไปตรงมารับเงินสดมาให้อาจารย์จบนะครับแต่เราก็รู้ว่าสตาร์ทอัพเนี่ยบางทีเราจะต้องสงวนเงินสดไว้นะฮะฉะนั้นเราบอกว่าเราเป็นหุ้นก็ได้แต่ต้องเป็นหุ้นที่ชำระเต็มนะครับหมายความว่าถ้าท่านตั้งบริษัทขึ้นมา1 ล้านนะครับท่านต้องใส่เงิน1 ล้านตั้งบริษัทก่อนจดทะเบียนชำระเต็ม1 ล้านและที่บอกให้หุ้นธรรมศาสตร์10%ก็คือ100,000จากเดิมท่านก็ต้องเสียเงินสดประมาณ100,000ให้ธรรมศาสตร์เลยใช่ไหมครับแต่ตอนนี้เราบอกว่าเราถือหุ้นได้10%นะครับดังนั้นเงิน100,000ของท่านเนี่ยก็ยังสมอยู่ในบริษัทที่ใช้ขยายกิจการและความเจ๋งตรงนั้นก็คือว่าแต่เดิมพออาจารย์รับเงิน100,000หรือกี่บาทแล้วเนี่ยเราก็ถือว่าจบหน้าที่เราไปทำวิจัยต่อไอ้นี่ขายได้แล้วจบนะฮะแต่ตอนนี้ไม่ได้เราถือว่าเราเป็นพาร์ทเนอร์กันเพราะว่าถ้าเผื่อเราทำให้ท่านไม่สำเร็จไอ้กระดาษที่เราถืออยู่ที่เรียกว่าใบหุ้นเนี่ยมันก็คือขยายดีๆเองถูกไหมเน้นตอนนี้เราต้องเป็นพาร์ทเนอร์กันแล้วผมคิดว่าอย่างนี้เนี่ยเราจะคุยและต่อรองกันเร็วนะครับแต่ว่าก็ยังมีประเด็น3 ประเด็นที่ทางธรรมศาสตร์คอนเซิร์ตนะครับประเด็นแรกเราเรียกว่าสิ่งในการขายก็คือถ้าเผื่อท่านทำธุรกิจไปแล้วเรามองเห็นว่ามันขัดแย้งกับโอกาสที่จะเสื่อมเสียชื่อเสียงของเราคือไม่ได้ผิดกฎหมายนะผิดกฎหมายเราไม่เอาด้วยครับเช่นท่านอยากทำเป็น LL อย่างเงี้ยแต่เราเห็นว่ามันไม่เหมาะสมกับความเป็นธรรมศาสตร์นะครับเราอาจจะขอเฟิร์สไลน์ว่าเราขอขายสิทธิ์คืนขายหุ้นคืนให้กับท่านก่อนในราคาตลาดนะฮะคือไม่ใช่ราคาพาในราคาตลาดงั้นถ้าเป็นอย่างนี้เนี่ยท่านก็มีสิทธิ์ที่จะไม่ซื้อหุ้นคืนก็ได้แต่ท่านก็จะทำกิจกรรมนั้นไม่ได้ที่เสี่ยงกับชื่อเสียงของเราหรือไม่ท่านอยากจะทำแต่ท่านก็คือหุ้นคืนไปก่อนเผื่อมันมีเคสอะไรขึ้นมานะคนไปบอกผมว่าฝากมีหุ้น10%ถือว่าความเสียหายมันมหาศาลนะฮะไม่คุ้มเลยอันดับที่2ก็คือเราคุยเรื่องของสิทธิ์ในการทำvaluationนะฮะผมเชื่อว่าต่อไปบริษัทสตาร์ทอัพเนี่ยต้องเพิ่มทุนจริงๆโมเดลเป็นอย่างนี้เราต้องเพิ่มทุนในระลอกและใน 10% พวกนี้เนี่ยเราจะมีการคุยกันว่าถ้าเพิ่มทุนเนี่ยเราจะต้องทำยังไงกันนะครับแล้วก็อย่างที่3เราจะคุยกันเรื่องของเราคอมเพติเตอร์ด้วยคือคอมเพติเตอร์เนี่ยผมว่ามันเป็นอะไรที่สูงกว่าการไม่เปิดเผยข้อมูลนะงั้นการเป็นนอนคอมเพติเตอร์หมายความว่าถ้าเผื่อเรามองที่ตัวแอปพลิเคชันของโปรดักต์นี้เข้าไปในตลาดนี้นะครับงั้นการสร้างถึงแม้เราจะให้สิทธิ์ท่านบอกว่าเอ็กซ์คลูซีฟแค่เรื่องของสมุนไพรสมุนแค่นี้ใช้สูตรกอคออย่างเงี้ยแต่ถ้าเผื่อเรามีอันหนึ่งมาแอปโค้ดเราก็บอกว่าเข้าแชมพูสมุนไพรสูตร ABC นะฮะซึ่งพูดในเรื่องของสิทธิบัตรไม่ได้ไปฝ่าฝืนละเมิดอะไรแต่มองดูว่า2 บริษัทนี้เข้าไปแข่งขันกันหรือเปล่าฉะนั้นเราก็จะกำหนดภาพในเรื่องที่ว่าธรรมศาสตร์เองก็จะไปทำโปรดักต์ที่มันเป็นของแพทย์ทีนะแต่สมุนสิทธิการที่จะเดินต่อได้นะภายในระยะเวลา X เดือนนะครับคือไม่ใช่ตลอดไปและท่านก็ต้องกำหนดเหมือนกันว่าท่านก็จะต้องไม่แยกไปตั้งบริษัทหนึ่งทำโปรดักต์ที่เป็นคู่แข่งกับโปรดักต์เดิมด้วยอะไรอย่างเงี้ยก็คือเป็น3 เรื่องที่เราพยายามที่จะ cover นะครับมีประเด็นข้อสงสัยอะไรไหมครับไหนใครมาจากมหาวิทยาลัยบ้างมาครับโอเคอาจารย์มีอะไรเสริมไหมครับอยู่มหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์ด้วยครับสุนันท์นารีบอกที่มาเพื่อการนี้เลยนะหรือมาเพื่อสุนันท์งั้นอาจารย์ครับเท่าไหร่แล้วครับแล้วงั้นอาจารย์ valuation that you mentioned, if there are conflict, can we apply this method to court?
Yes, there is, for example, of course, this would be the classical calculation which you would get if you ask somebody. So I know this work, for example, in private practice with Professor Moser, M-O-S-E-R, Ulrich Moser. He is an accountant, and he need usually for this type of valuation people who understand patent law and also who know something about financial methods. I know, and he does. And then you get an opinion, which is 4 or 5 pages. And you get 4 or 5 pages, maybe 10 pages. And you go present, if necessary, to court. The court will then not be bound by this valuation. This is an opinion, of course. But if you present it, for example, as a plaintiff, you wish to have this and this money because you have agreed on something reasonable or else, then it is subject to a substantiated objection by the other side, and they have to prove better. So there may be 2 opinions which are fighting against each other. But I can tell you, this I had in 2004 or 5 or 6, more than 10 years ago. There was a Jordanian company, Jordanian pharmaceutical manufacturer, JPM. You can find this, and you can even find the valuation. I had to value the portfolio, patent portfolio of JPM, because they wanted to merge with another Jordanian pharmaceutical company. I think it was Suktian at that moment. JPM is the critical one, is public, so you can look into the records. And according to Jordanian law, mergers are only allowed by the Ministry of Economy if a valuation of the intellectual property took place beforehand. And then they look at the valuation, and then they determine whether the merger conditions, balancing payments, etc., shares have to be exchanged, whether they are justified in terms of this valuation, otherwise they would not allow the merger. And this was done for at least 15 or 20 patents in this case, and it is public, it is recorded, Ministry of Economy, publicly available in Jordan. So these things you cannot only take to court, you also can take it as a part of publicly admitted or allowed deals in merger cases, acquisition cases, etc. This is typically allowed. This is the same calculation, by the way, which you would also get in damage settlements in courts in patent litigation, where the infringer has to pay what he would have to pay if he would have taken a license, and he didn't take a license, so he has to pay now something in terms of damages. And then the court checks whether this is justified according to good faith. It's never number by number in the law, but the court would acknowledge that.
ครับก็เวลาขึ้นศาลเมืองไทยก็เหมือนกันนะครับก็คือทางฝ่ายทนายศาลคงไม่ได้ติดต่อฝ่ายทนายที่เขาเห็นว่าเขาจะได้ประโยชน์เสียประโยชน์อะไรติดต่อผู้อาจารย์นะฮะที่คือก็เป็นกลางนะครับเพื่อไปให้ความคิดเห็นในศาลนะครับจนกระทั่งบางแม่สอบที่มันที่ว่าอเมริกาเจอเคสหนึ่งก็คือเคสแบบใช้ Inside Information นะก็คือซื้อหุ้นโดยการใช้ Inside Information ซึ่งถ้าถามว่าแล้วคุณจะต้องโดนปรับกี่บาทยากมากนะในเมืองไทยเขาที่เห็นภาพอยู่ก็คือจะต้องไปดูบัญชีเขาผ่านปปงแล้วก็ไล่เก็บตังค์พวกนี้มาให้หมดที่อเมริกาโหดนะครับแล้วพวกอาจารย์พูดวิธีนี้ศาลอเมริกันประเทศอัพพายวิธีนี้เป็นวิธีอัตโนมัติเลยทำยังไงรู้ไหมครับก็ดูว่าวันนั้นที่คุณซื้อราคาหุ้นขึ้นกี่เปอร์เซ็นต์วันรุ่งเท่าไหร่แล้วเขาจับคูณกันตลอดซึ่งผมเชื่อว่าผมเป็นอินไซเดอร์ผมไม่ได้พวกนั้นทั้งหมดแต่ศาลเนี่ยใช้วิธีคูณพวกกันเฉพาะที่เกี่ยวกับบัญชีคุณก็คูณไปอะไรนะครับคุณควรปรับก้อนนี้เลยก็แล้วกันนะฮะในพวกนั้นต่อทางไฟแนนซ์อะไรเรื่องทางขายใช้อันไหนใช้บ่อยๆก็เป็นนอกผมก็เรื่องไอ้คัดโกงนี่เป็นเรื่องที่เป็นพื้นฐานมากนะฮะในไฟแนนซ์เนี่ยผมเชื่อว่าขึ้นศาลไปเนี่ยถ้าจะใช้หรือไม่ใช้ผู้เชี่ยวชาญด้านการเงินเนี่ยแต่ก็พอจะเข้าใจได้ทุกอย่างนะครับข้างหลังผมถามไปอ่านหรือยังครับก็คือเป็นน้อยและอาหาร
Maybe I should add this here. You said court, but where it is continuously accepted also is by the German tax authorities, that means up to the highest level, in case of transfer prices. If you take an invention which has been made in Germany, out of Germany, let's say from IBM Germany, invention made, IBM has the invention, and transfers it to IBM United States, to the mother company, and then IBM United States licenses it out worldwide, etc. Then the value of this invention has to be determined, because the German GmbH, whether they get money for it or not, doesn't matter, has to pay, in this case, corporate tax in Germany as if they would have sold this invention to the US company on an arm's length basis. Nobody can take an invention, even not an unpatented one, out of Germany without paying tax in Germany for that German entity. And of course, multinationals try to do this all the time, because Germany is a high tax company, a country with income tax 54%, corporate tax not much lower, and you go then into the tax haven, and from then on you can use the invention on a much more favorable basis. That transfer price is determined according to these rules. This is what I mentioned earlier, this judgment of the German Federal Financial Court, the highest court in Germany for tax matters. We have acknowledged this method many times. This is the basis to determine the value of the invention which you are taken out of Germany for transfer price tax.
ครับก็ชัดเจนครับการมีมารอบของเขาเลยนะอาหารอะไรอย่างนี้โอเคดีมากครับเดี๋ยวเราทานข้าวเย็นด้วยกันแล้วอาจจะพูดคุยกันต่อนะครับจะดิฉันยังไม่ได้ติดเลยถ่ายรูปอาจจะคุณเป็นเชิญครับ
On behalf of Asahi University, we would like to say thank you to you as our speaker today. And today we have a gift from Asahi University, and we would like to take a photo together with you and our IPT.
Yes, sir.